You going?
Yep.
All right, hello everybody.
It's show 69 today.
Show 69. We're just having a cup of coffee.
And it's live.
And it's live.
Hi guys.
Live coffee. Little bit of update on our vehicles. We were sabotaged. Someone put dirt in the tank. So I've been working on that to get it to run. And what they must do is when we go into town, we park somewhere because we've got dual fuel, and they put dirt in the gas tank. And when you start this car up, it's got to start on gas for a couple of seconds and switches over to LPG. So it was having trouble starting. So I finally figured out that they've been into the fuel tank because they must have another set of keys for the car, which is nothing for a spy agency, of course, like ASIO or CIA or Mossad, something like that. Anyhow, I finally fixed it, and it was a bit of a job, so that's why we didn't record first up. So what we'd prefer to do. So Ash is just making herself a cup of coffee, and we're going to be with you in a minute. And I've been down looking at the Nehemiah again, and since I reprimanded them for, first off, being Germans, secondly, listening to the dictates of the world order, which is Jewish, of course. All of them have relatives that got burnt to death in Dresden or in the 25 million that was killed during the war. And so they've taken the covers off the webcam, and now we have 9 hours and 30 minutes from daylight, the first break, until the last. Now it should be on this date about 1 hour, because we're moving into August, and they have another one down there. It's called Palaloa, and they've got that covered up as well. I'd like to see them undo that, because that's where you're going to see Nibiru coming in, because it's pointing in the right direction. However, Nibiru has been sighted all around the world now. We've got people that have sighted it in Sweden, and it's quite a large field of light. Now also, I've been able to look at the duration of sunlight on the latest GPS satellites giving us the sunset and sunrise for this location. And because of the tilt of the Earth, the sunlight duration for where we are, Toogoom, Queensland, is 6 to 7 minutes out. So the day is longer by that period of time. Now, it's a very hard thing to nail down exactly what's happening. When you spin a top, when it starts to slow down, it'll wobble and then fall over. Basically, there's a wobble effect happening at the moment. So if you was in Antarctica or in England, and you're standing on the new North Pole, the new axis of the Earth, which is just north of Herne Bay, when we were there in May, it was about 35 miles north of Herne Bay. And you look it up on your Google Earth and find it. So what appears to be happening is, which makes it very difficult to do it from the ground. If you was in a satellite out in space and looking at it, you could see it. But because we're on the ground, I've got to do calculations constantly and compare to the old software that I've got that's not online. You can't alter it. And that would give, normally, if there was no shift of the axis, would give you the exact moment of stars overhead for any duration over any location on Earth. So as we've got 9.5 hours from sunrise to sunset, Well, that's when the last of the light, I'm taking it from the last of the light. So the first peak of light to the last peak of light, 9 hours, 30 minutes. So that's a gain of about 8.5 hours, which shouldn't be. So all through August, it should average 3 hours. So in other words, it will steadily increase from July the 31st, where you've got no sunlight, to August the 31st, and you will have an average of 3 hours. So if you've got 0 on the 31st of July, and you'd have 6 hours maximum on the 31st. Well, we've already into 9.5 hours, and we've been watching that for quite some time. So what I was able to do was use the satellite information on my smartphone, and gave the all of the stars that's passing over Tugum are all over the place. In particular, Mercury, it's out by a great deal of time. But the big stars is more what were important to the calculation, like the Sun, Uranus. When I say big stars, the big planets and the distant planets, because they're slow in their orbits, and we can determine that they're all out 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes at this location. Therefore, I could then move the observation point northwards, and to make it about right for the Sun itself is about Rockhampton. So that gives me some idea. Now I can start to plot, because I haven't had time yet because I'm working on the bloody car, getting that running. I could plot the same latitude across Australia and see if it's exactly the same. If it is, that means that the axis of the Earth can be determined, but it probably isn't. So I'll then have to do a bit of calculation to find out exactly where it is across Australia, and then observe it for a few days, and I can give an update report every day on where we are in regards to that. So it's definitely very interesting times. And of course we've also got the Nibiru planet coming in, and we've got the two Kachina planets coming in from the south. So you've got Nibiru coming from the north. It's accompanied by its planets, because it's a dwarf star. And then I don't know whether the Kachina, Hopi prophecies, it's also the prophecies of the Swiss, because the Jesus figure appeared to the Swiss, appeared to the Hopi, appeared to the Africans, and also appeared to the Asians, and they were given a small plaque, and they're all identical. What this does is you can now, with modern times, we can gather the 4 plaques or take photographs of them and compare them, and they're all identical, which means that each of the prophecies, irregardless, all have a story of the 2 planets coming in. So we have the Hopi. The Hopi we now know is right in everything that they have been told. And of course, a lot of people are now asking about the Colburn Bible, and I'll tell you what that is in a minute. So because we have 4 locations, we have the white race, the black race, the red race, if you like, the Indians, and the yellow race, which is the Asians, of course. So then we look at what they were told. And what they are told is basically that man himself causes Armageddon. So, with the approach of Nibiru, you notice that it's at a point in time where we've just crossed over the Milky Way galaxy. So if we go back in time to the flood, Mars was shifted out of its orbit by some huge force, and also the change in direction from going northward, dropping southward. And what happened was the moon did not exist. So Mars, with its immense amount of water, you could ask any 5-year-old to look at Mars and see if you can say, was there water on it once? And the kid will say, yeah, of course it was, you can see it, as it's all been washed away. And there's a gigantic volcano, Olympus Mons, about 22 degrees north of the equator. And the rotational period of Mars is a little bit longer, 24 hours and about 20 minutes or so. I'll have to look it up on my smartphone, won't I? And that's slightly longer than the Earth. The rotation is the same as the Earth. Venus, on the other hand, rotates the other direction and much slower. So you look at the fact that the south pole of Mars collided with the north pole of the Earth, not as a great whack, but it was still severe enough to push up mountains and to cause volcanoes all over the Earth, also cause a giant volcano on Mars itself. It ejected the 2 moons, Phobos and Deimos, and Phobos and Deimos means fear and terror. And what you have then is Antarctica. It's based on 7 peaks. So there's 7 mountains. Now, when I originally did the research for Antarctica, I got an average height of 9,420 feet. It's probably changed, because every time I put something up on the internet, they go and bloody well change the numbers. Give an example of that, I've just measured with the Google Earth to where I was born from here, and it's 974.6 miles in, kilometres in my Magellan software, which is a satellite software, which is absolutely accurate to within a few feet, a few metres. And measuring with Google Earth, it's out by 3.33 kilometres. I thought that was rather cute. Now measuring from here to the solar eclipse that occurred along the 25 degree latitude, and I'll tell you why you're going to go to the 25 degree latitudes in a moment. However, a solar eclipse occurred, perfect solar eclipse, underneath the Great Pyramid, slightly to the west of the Great Pyramid, and to where I was reborn, and lived for 900 till I was 942 days old. And as any of you who are familiar with that will know that that's how many times the word Jesus is found in the New Testament of the King James 1611 Bible only. And the distance from the exact moment of the eclipse on the 22 degree latitude, slightly west of the straight line down from the Great Pyramid, the distance to where I was born was 8,888.8 miles. So there's your Jesus number twice. So the moon, in order for it to exist, had to be punched out of the Earth, and it's quite an easy thing to realise. In fact, on my smartphone now, I was looking up the moon, and if you go back just a few years, the moon was an accumulation of asteroids over a period of 4 billion years and something stupid like that. And I often thought, if they got a little man sitting there for 4 billion years watching it, how do they get with a time clock? So these fantastic numbers they come up with out of the Jewish universities, because they're trying to disprove creation and prove evolution. However, in the smartphone, when I looked up on this program I've got, it says about the moon. And it says it was probably formed when a large Mars-sized planet ran into the Earth. Hello, checkmate, slam dunk. I'm out of here, close the door. Right, here I am right again. Like just once I'd like to be, I can't say the word. What's the word, Lynn? Wrong. How do you, well, no, it doesn't matter. It ain't happened yet.
Can I just tell
You can do anything you like, darling.
Well, the number on the new...
Oh, we bought another car because this one here we've got it stuffed.
And
Well,
the badge on it, just the
Don't say the license plate.
No, nothing. I'm not telling anything. The amount that we paid for it, a deliverer, God or Christ, Saviour.
I'll just go back a little bit. We've been searching for cars because this thing, we're a bit out of town, 18 kilometres or so, and we need a vehicle to get into town, otherwise we've got to go by bus, and I'm not in the mood for doing that. And so we thought, well, we better start looking around for another car. Well, as you know, cars are expensive. So I thought, well, I'll leave it in the hands of the angels. So we end up getting an $8,000, $9,000, $10,000, what is it? Whatever huge price car, half price. Because the guy who owns it is moving to the other side of the world, so to speak, and he can't take the car with him.
And the amount we're paying, which is half what it's worth, means God or Christ, Saviour.
So the thing is, we left it in the hands of the angels yesterday because they had the shits with it. Right?
Hello? Meaning me.
Listen, did I not say to you, okay?
And the badge on it is to act manly.
Well, there you go. That's what we're talking about, the Colburn Bible. Getting back to the moon. The moon itself, if you look at the moon, the way it was before it started flipping all over the place, upside down in sometimes. But over a period of 29 days, it'll rotate anything up to 180 degrees, back and forth. And not only that, but where it was normally you'd look at the moon, you could see 51% of it because there was a slight turning of the moon in relationship to the Earth. Now it's much higher than that. And prior to this, I will put some drawings up and make a PowerPoint. And what it's showing is that if you take Australia, which is the width of the moon, and you put it over the moon, there are several true impact craters, because scientists, being stupid, said that all the craters on the moon were impact craters that were formed over 4.5 billion years, about the same time as we slid out the arse of a sea slug when we evolved from a rock. So, when you look at the craters on the moon, some of them are 200 miles across. 14,000 to 16,000 feet are the rims around it, and they're perfectly round. So this is not what you would expect if you was, say, in a sand pit and you had a gun and you're coming in with your rifle at about 45 degrees and you fire the gun, it's going to elongate a crater. Would you not agree? Well, whether you do or not, it does. Now, a perfectly round crater, which is the common shape of all craters on the moon, whether they're only a small one, 50 miles across, or 200 and some odd miles across, at the centre of them is like a little blip sticking up. And that little blip, in most cases, is several hundred to thousands of feet high. One is 14,000 feet high. So what that means is that when the molten material was coming out from the ejected material, which is now Antarctica, which has the 7 mountains that are a ring, a circle, and all this material was blasted out into space, it's coming out at 2200 degrees Celsius, or Kelvin. Pretty hot. As it cooled in the 454 degrees Fahrenheit below zero of space, the outside will start to cool like porridge in a pot. But if you notice when you're boiling your porridge up and they get the skim across the top, the bubbles that come up, they form perfectly round circles. Hello. And at the middle of it is a little blip. Well, on a large scale, this is what happens with the moon. The molten material of the Earth caused it to form a ball in space, perfectly round, and that's what the moon is today. And as it's cooling off, the gases releasing bubbles from the centre of it as it cools were coming to the top and forming these craters. All right. Now on the moon, there are half a dozen or so true impact craters. And you can see by the colour of the moon, which is slightly grey, where the impact craters have hit. One in particular, it splattered white material out for several hundred kilometres to a few hundred kilometres in all directions of the impact direction. In other words, it was coming in, like I said before, firing a gun into a sandpit at a 45-degree angle. You're going to get an elongated crater. So where the bullet goes into the sand, it's going to push the sand in front of it and then accumulate a high ridge on the other side, then disappear into the crater, into the sand itself. So likewise on the moon. So as the large object asteroid hit, it did exactly that. It carved out a groove, and then on the other side it punched up a ridge 14, 15, 16,000 feet high, and then the ejected material went out in the direction of the impact and slightly off to the right and to the left of the impact from a straight line. In other words, it's spraying generally in the same direction, and then material escaped to the right and to the left about 45-degree angles, maybe less than that. Now, you then put Australia over the top of all of these impact craters. Then you take the Great Pyramid diagram, plan, layout, and lay it where the descending passage and the King's Chamber are sitting on impact craters. So what does that tell you? Number one, whether it's Australia sitting on it or whether it's the shape of the pyramid layout plan, it means it's created to look that way. And when asteroids were required to hit the moon, it did so. So in other words, to be so precise, you'd have to say that there is a creator doing it. Now naturally, the creator doesn't make mistakes. They're precise, it's precision. So all this information is starting to escape the confinement of the "we will forbid Christ" prediction of the learned elders. Well, I shouldn't say learned elders. The idiots elders of the, what's it called? Book of Zion or something. Learned elders of Zion. Number 14, we will forbid Christ. Well, they ain't doing a good job. Now, the checkmate was in when I was born. They knew it, they knew exactly where I'd be because it's all identified by the moon overlaying Australia and the Great Pyramid overlaid on top of that will tell you precisely the address where I would be born. So what did they do? When they laid out Sydney, they made Rothschild Avenue. 105 Rothschild Avenue. At the end of Rothschild Avenue is the large registrar of motor vehicles, etc., government money collecting scheme. And you go down the street, and the first street you pass is Chester. Well, that is the chest inside the temple of Solomon for collecting the money as you walk in to do sacrifice your lamb or whatever you're going to sacrifice. As you go down Chester, it runs into Queen Street, runs off Rothschild Avenue. So you start at the top, you've got Chester, then you go down, you've got the Queen. As you go to the end of it, it's Harcourt Parade. So it's a T-section at the end of Rothschild Avenue. So you've got 105 Rothschild Avenue, where I was to live until I was 942 days old. And we moved from there when I was 222 into the year. In other words, the 222nd day of the year of 1946 we moved. As I am a man today, I'm actually not as smart as I was when I was a kid. Photographic memory as a child, remember everything that happened every day, dates. Could speak fluently when I'm 18 months old. So some astounding things happened as I was a child. My brother, who was 8.88 years older than I, came home from school one day and he said, Albert Einstein's theory of relativity, blah, blah, blah. He said if you was to take a flashlight and you shine it out into space and the beam was powerful enough, it would come right around and hit you in the back of the head. I said, Einstein is wrong. I'm 2 years old. And guess what? Einstein's wrong. Another day he come home and he was learning history, I guess, and he said there are 7 wonders of the old world and 7 wonders of the new. Here I am, 2 years old. And I said, yeah, but which of the wonders is in the old wonders of the world and the new wonders of the world? Now, this you might expect it coming out of a 20-year-old, right? Not a 2-year-old. So he looked at me all stunned, and I said, well, the Great Pyramid. Point is, where did this information come from a little child of 2? Well, a baby is connected to a former life. It is the soul of the former life. If you can speak at a very early age, you could talk about all sorts of memories that you have from the past and information that's in your head. Well, this is what I was able to do. I would draw upon a memory that was an adult's memory of the past, and I could speak as an adult. And yet, my parents were too stupid to even realise what they had before them. Matter of fact, I cannot recall ever talking to my stepfather because he's such an idiot. Couldn't have any time for him. So that's what an adult might grow up and say, well, my father was a bloody fool and blah, 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 and I've had many arguments with him that he's an idiot and I'm not going to talk. I already knew he was an idiot. He was a cruel, sadistic bastard. Give you some idea what he would do as I got older. If I had a pet dog, he would take it to the dog pound where they used to gas the dogs in gas chambers. And ironically, this gave me great empathy for the cruelty that happened during World War II when the SS did do some horrid things to the Jews. They were the bad bastards, not Hitler. And he had to pull them into line. But he would make a joke when my dog would disappear and then break the news to me that he'd taken to the gas chamber. Now, that's the kind of man he was. I had a pet duck, for example, and he made me watch as he cut its head off. Pet duck. Then he tried to make me eat it. Well, I wasn't going for that either. But that's kind of arsehole he was, right? So, born into hell is the point I'm trying to make here. And as a result of that, a lot of the things that I reveal is not so much that I've discovered it now, I've just remembered it. So, talking about the moon being ejected out of the Antarctica, and that's what formed Antarctica, I've been saying that ever since the question was raised 20 odd years ago. Where'd the moon come from? Well, I'll tell you. It wasn't a matter of studying what anyone else is saying. I just said it was ejected when Mars bumped into the Earth, and that's why the water level on the Earth got raised, and that's why the water was missing from Mars. And the reason that we haven't been sucked in by the sun, this gigantic magnetic ball, is because it's rocketing through space, falling, if you like, and it's in the book of Job. Now, Job was an Essene. Right? Now, he says the earth was hung on an empty place in the north. Job 26:7 or 27:6, one down. So Job is much older than Genesis, but what the Jews have done, they've put Genesis first, followed by the next longest book, Exodus, followed by the next longest book, and they put it in length as opposed to age. So the oldest book should be first, obviously, which is the book of Job. And this is the book that in the Essene lessons, which are what the New Testament Gospels are based on, as well as the eyewitness accounts, were recorded in the Essene lectins. There's 96 of them. So you have a verse like Matthew 21:42. Have you ever read the scripture where the blah 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 rejected capstone has become the head of the corner? Well, if you were looking at it from an engineering point of view, what's the head of a corner? Well, one corner? No, it would fall over. The capstone wouldn't sit on one corner, it's got to sit on four corners. So that's what the pyramid is, got four corners. Now in the exact same verse where it's plagiarised from is in the Essenes, the lectins. And it's talking about exactly the same, word for word, except where it says head of the corner, it says head of the pyramid. One word change. So you see in the lessons that the Jesus was not called Jesus, was Jeshu Maria. Now, Jeshu Maria is found in William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. So what's the key words of Romeo and Juliet? Wherefore art thou? Where do you find that? Another Essene book, which is Isaiah 63. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel? So it's a dialogue asking a question and then it's being answered. And the Lord answers and he said, I'm coming from Bozrah and I'm pissed off. Basically. Talking about his garment is dyed red from crushing the sour grapes of the Christians and people of the earth. The Jews in particular. But the Christians aren't far behind it. Don't worry about that. The Christians are Jews, except they recognise Christ. But it's got to be the hairy-fairy pansy puff Christ that walks around with a limp wrist. Because it's been not slapping people across the face with it, is he? He turns the other cheek. I think he's talking about the cheek of his ass, isn't he, when he said he turns it? Because he's a homosexual.
Yes, that's the blonde dude.
The one that you see most likely was a
the golden-haired blonde dude.
Golden-haired blonde dude, short beard, handsome as. Well, he was a homosexual lover of the artist who painted him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, that's right.
Italian, wasn't it?
Yes, yes.
So Sodom and Gomorrah had already snuck into the church in the early days, right?
No, the second dude, the other dark-haired dude, again with the short beard, and he's the son of Pope Alexander IV.
Ah.
And his name is Caesar Borgia.
Okay, he's a Borgia, the Alexander IV, the Pope, son of. So that's where all this bullshit comes from. So you get a mental picture of what Christ is like, not a hairy ass like me that is as tough as, and if I was in the same ring with Obama, I would strangle him on the spot. No problem at all. So I'm not a hairy-fairy type homosexual boy George type.
Boy George. You're groping for just the right words to try and describe what you are not, right?
I'm trying hard.
You're not a bloody pansy.
I'm not a bloody pansy. And I have no problem putting every Jew on the planet on the end of a rope.
Oh, totally.
I'll tell you why. They're going to die anyhow, right? Fear him. That's a good one. Fear him that can destroy both body and soul in hell. And you're in hell right now. Right? And as I've said before, I'm a little bit annoyed with Hitler. Because if had he done what he's been accused of doing, you wouldn't have the problems of the earth today where hundreds of millions have suffered and died. So better off getting rid of the cancer in the body of humanity when the opportunity was there, then opposed to having the cancer spread through all over the body, and now you've got to wait till Christ show up and try and fix it for you. Well, what am I going to do? I'm going to cut the cancer out and kill it. So the Jews have got a choice. They can either recognise me as Messiah and become very, very good little boys and girls, or they're dead meat. The angels are just about here. They know all about it. The ancients know all about this kind of stuff. So what I'm telling the Christian world or the atheist world or anyone who's listening out there, who cares, if you're smart enough, look at how you have found us on this radio program. How did the circumstances come about that led you here? Are you getting it? Is this not what you want for a commander-in-chief that's going to be king over the whole earth, the Creator himself? Isn't that what you want? The grandfather figure, the asshole that doesn't take no bullshit, that says fuck when he feels like it. A lady said to me, oh my God, doesn't say fuck. Well, first off, it means fornication under consent of the king if you had any brains. That's what it means, F-U-C-K, hang on the door of the princess or the prince to fornicate, to beget children for the royal family in the British Isles, to fornicate under consent of the king. That's what fuck means. Now, having said that, I said to this lady, I can say it, you can't. Big difference.
It's your word.
Well, I like it. I like the ak bit. It almost sounds Arabic, doesn't it? Ak bit.
Ahmed.
Ahmed. Fuck Ahmed. It's even better. So far as you stupid Muslims out there listening to this, and I advise you to listen very carefully, I'm not happy with Muslims. They treat women like shit. Male phallic symbol is all in their minds. No problem having 4 wives. Women have to cover up because a man might get a naughty thought if he sees a nice ankle or a nice face. What kind of a society is that where a woman has to cover up so the man won't get a hard on? That's what it boils down to, isn't it? Let's call it what it is. Huh? Now Muhammad, he had it right. He believed that Jesus and Mary, Jesha Maria, was a virgin, was conceived of the Holy Ghost, and the soul of Jesus was God. Now, in the Arabic tradition, the word God is Allah. Point being, he spread Islam by convincing the leaders of all of the Arabic nations around him, from Ethiopia right through to Arabia, that Jesus was the soul of God. Now, there was a Jewish community not too far from where he lived. They thought, well, we've got to fix you up. And they poisoned and killed him. He had one wife that died, and then he remarried a Coptic Christian named Maria. She produced one son, and he was murdered at 2 years and 10 months.
1 year and 10 months.
1 year and 10 months.
Ibrahim.
What's his name?
Ibrahim.
So his daughter Fatima, she inherited, and of course her and her husband, Ali. If you look at the history, it's the hardest thing in the world to do, of course, find true history regarding all this. But there was hangings, murders, poisonings, beheadings, all the way through of the descendants of Muhammad, and eventually was taken over and they set up their own Quran, which is childish as can be. It is pathetic. I've looked at maybe 3 pages of it. See, I don't need to read these scriptures and that kind of thing, or this Quran. I know what's mine and what isn't. Oh, God, for fuck's sake, I ain't going to waste my time doing that bullshit. I'm not interested in convincing Muslims or Christians or Jews. I'm not interested. The ones that are mine will find me, and as I'm saying to you, if you found me after looking for all your life for some concrete evidence of insanity that's going to be cured by some other leading figure in the world, whatever it is, whether it be a king, whether it be Jesus figure, whether it be a Christ figure, whether it be a Masonic Messiah, or whatever you're in. Suddenly, logic must penetrate through the thick skull of the person that's looking for salvation of the earth, because the earth is gross stupidity and evil. For example, free energy. People say, oh, we have to have this, we have to have that. But if you live in the hands of the Jews, they're going to charge you and put a meter on it, just like they do when you fill up your car at the local gas station. Now in Libya, it was 15 cents a litre. 14 cents a litre. In Egypt, it's 30 cents a litre. They still make money on it. So the reality is, whether it's produced in Alaska, Australia, Canada, the Middle East, Egypt, or Libya, the cost of doing it's the same. You're getting it for free. It comes pumped out the bloody ground. So it's just a matter of infrastructure being built on the sale of oil, and then you pay a very minute amount in wages for people to run the thing and the operating of it. So what's it really worth? Well, as you own the earth, why is some Jew able to charge you $3, $4, $5, $6 a gallon for it? Think about it. Fuel is your biggest cost in any kind of enterprise. I could go on and on and on and on and on. I can show you a new way, which I will introduce, of a pyramid, if you like, of how to pay a very large wage in comparison to what a young girl of 14 or 8 years of age, what am I saying, in Indonesia is making a pair of Nike shoes. So the shoes sell in some Jewish outfit for $150, $160. The little girl gets 20 cents for making them.
3.
Or 3, whatever the case may be. So if the kingdom owns all the stores, like any of the big corporations, supermarkets, just take them over. They got them for nothing anyhow. They printed the money. This is what the whole bullshit world is all about. So you take the girl's name, give her a number and a bank account, and you pay her wages at the point of sale. So you've got the fellow who has to own the factory, own the machinery, buy the raw materials, pay for the electricity and shipping, and then he sells it at the lowest possible price because it's a competitive type of thing that Jews have all set up. So let's say the cost of the shoes, just in round figures, is 10 cents for the material, 10 cents for the labour, 10 cents for the fuel for the factory. So the whole thing, there's got to be a profit of 10 cents. I'm being facetious here. So you might have a shoe that before it leaves the factory has cost $1 for everyone to make a living at it. A pathetic living at that. Then the Jews got hold of it for nothing, because they print the money anyhow. Then they sell it and wholesale it for maybe $150. So let's do it the other way around. Let's take a normal pair of shoes that's going to sell for $20. Same cost to manufacture. So at the point of sale, everybody who is involved in the manufacturing process has got a number. So you slide your credit card over, or your bank card or cash. It goes through, that shoe is serial numbered. And every person who is involved in it, at the point of sale, instead of getting 10 cents a piece, they get $1 a piece. That increases their profit by 10 times, or their wages by 10 times. It makes no difference to the person who was half pissed and staggering out of a pub and decided to buy a pair of tennis shoes. That's earning $1,000 a week. It makes no difference to him or her. But it makes a hell of a difference to the person who's on the starving level in Indonesia that's making a 24/7 work ethic, if you like, because they work the child until she drops dead. Where in fact, the child can't go to school, the father, he can't work for that kind of money. So you make it so that the father can work there. And he works a 4-hour shift, not an 8-hour, 10-hour, 12-hour, 15-hour a day, 7 days a week. Make it a 4-day week, 4 hours a day. He earns enough money on the point of sale of that shoe. So instead of him getting 30 cents an hour, he's getting $2 an hour or $20 an hour or whatever the case may be. You add all the costs in at the end, not at the start. That becomes a pyramid and balloons out to 100 times the price by the time the Jews get hold of it and sell them in a shop like they've got in Melbourne and Sydney and so forth. They're called Myers. Well, Myer, of course, is a Jewish company, and they're making big bucks. Not no more. We do it the other way around. Everybody owns the shops that they've been sold in. Everybody gets paid a very good wage. Everybody from the manufacturer right the way through. So what kind of God is that? It's called fair. Now, I don't expect anyone to bow down and grovel at my feet. I don't want it. I don't expect it. What I do expect is everyone do the right thing. Not that hard, is it? How are we going for time thing? This thing's still running? Or just yapping to myself?
No, it's still going.
Yeah, you still got like 10 minutes or so.
Yes. Oh, well, I'll hand it over to my little sweetie.
Well, I thought I'd just finish off by reading another small section from
Well, explain what the cauldron is.
Everybody's
Explain where Jesus was for all those years. Well, I'll do it. Joseph of Arimathea is known in Cornwall as being the Tin Man, England. It goes back in time thousands of years. Tin was and iron and copper was being sold out of England and shipped into the Middle East, in particular the Roman Empire and before that, on huge ships that were sailed and rowed by men on board that might be carrying 100 tons. So Joseph of Arimathea, he was the uncle of Mary. Jeshu Maria was the baby son born to Mary, virgin, God in the flesh. Joseph, the father or husband espoused of Mary, the supposed father of Jesus, which wasn't, stepfather, he died when I was 13 years old. Now, in England, there were 60 universities in the Glastonbury area. And the shipping of Joseph of Arimathea, which were in the numbers of hundreds of ships, he was the uncle or the brother of Anna, the mother, who was born in Cornwall. Her husband was born in Ireland, because the true line comes down through the Irish and Scottish. The ships that goes back and forwards, once it was well known that Jesus' relatives were English. Matter of fact, Constantine's wife was English. Or was it his mother? Wasn't it? So, with the death of Joseph, the eldest in the family, which was Joseph of Arimathea, the uncle-in-law of Joseph, the espoused of Mary, he took over the responsibility of raising further the offspring of Mary. And that is why these lost years, where was I for all those years from the age of 13 to 30? England. The word British is Hebrew. It means promise or a covenant with righteous man. It's the Briat Ish. That's why you've got the Irish and the Scottish and the Spanish, etc. Danish. These are all promise of righteous men and women. So people would come from all over the world to be taught the wisdom that was where the Colburn Bible was written down, which is Essene. You can find it online. Colburn.
Well, I discovered last night the online one's not complete. It's only about half of what's in the book.
Is it? It's spelt Kolbrin. The Colburn. Anyhow, you can buy it.
And the book is a compilation of writings of the people at the time, the kings, the rulers, down through the centuries in Britain, who would pass on the knowledge, treading the ancient paths.
You need to be close to the microphone, Ash.
Oh, well...
Come in and say it again. Some old bird out there saying, "What's he saying?"
Put down my broom, stop my sweeping. No, yes, well, the book itself that we have today is a compilation of manuscripts that were preserved. The writings, the wisdom teachings that were passed on through the generations. They are the writings of kings and nobles in Britain who preserved the knowledge for the teaching of their own sons and daughters, and the knowledge of which, as you know, is sadly lacking today, and why the world has fallen to such evil, because these writings and teachings have been lost to, they've been lost, they've been covered over, they've been, we've had every other fantasy out there today, which are fairy tales, including, as you know, the fairy tale Jesus, the pansy dude. So I just thought I'd finish today, these last few minutes. I'll read one small section because I know how many men and women are so really spiritually, emotionally, even physically damaged completely through the lack of teaching, the lack of wisdom that their own parents have not been privy to, not had the spirit.
You know, I went to Canada, I want to be a lumberjack now.
Anyway, bottom line is,
I'm a lumberjack.
Richard
right?
is. Sorry, I take that. Adam's father. I'm just reaching for glasses. Adam's own father has a lot to answer for, and as much as a lot of you have suffered at the hands of the lack of wisdom and knowledge, the future will be filled with it, and these will be the teachings. Ashley was asking us to get together lessons for homeschooling or teaching the children. Well, this is it. It's all here. It's all been... So the family relationship. So this is how a relationship between a father and a son should be and will be in the future. So he is your greatest joy, the Son whom your heart's desire has begotten, the hope you hand down to the future. Yet the pleasures of fatherhood must be tempered by the need for chastisement, for the youth does not become a man without discipline. All youths grow up, but not all grow into men. Great are the duties of a father, and grave are his responsibilities towards his son, for the future of the youngster lies wholly in his hand. Remember that your son will imitate you in word and action, and that the best instruction is by example. If you expect him to do that which you do not, or not do that which you do, then you are unjust and unworthy of your charge. So this is the responsibility and charge laid at the feet of a father. If your son reaches manhood lacking the knowledge of things a man should know, if he possesses a sullen manner and ill-disposed nature, if he is a weakling or dissipator, then he is a disgrace to you and a condemnation of your fatherhood. You have failed in the most important duty of a man. Your son is what you have made him. If he grows up a failure or weakling, then add not to your unworthiness as a father by rejecting him. He remains flesh of your flesh, and your responsibility and burden. In the fullness of time, you can make amends. The first step in begetting worthy sons is to make a wise choice of their mother. Riches and position a father may not be able to give his son, but example and good counsel, discipline, and a guiding hand into manhood can be given by every father. These are the birthright of every son. Cursed be the despicable man who denies his own son this birthright. No man has ever turned from his father and departed from his household because he has not given riches and possessions. But many men have turned away from their fathers because they did not receive proper instruction, guidance, and opportunity. Cursed be the man who accepts the joys of begetting his children but evades the responsibility of their upbringing. His sons will not forget, and his old age will be barren and filled with regret and self-reproach. Chastisement in the home is a proper preparation for the discipline of life. There is no way other than by a wise and proper upbringing that a youngster can be prepared for life. It is not sufficient that a son be as good a man as his father. Life progresses, and he must be made a better one. Whether your son grows up to be a blessing or a curse to his father, or whether he becomes useful or worthless, depends entirely upon your wisdom, guidance, and care. Think not that the task can be treated lightly, or you will live to regret your folly. The sapling may be bent to shape, but the tree is unalterable. If it be unseemly, other men will cut it down. Therefore, commence his instruction as he learns to walk, and as he grows, nourish his thoughts with the maxims of wisdom. Carefully guide his footsteps towards manhood, for there are many improper paths and pitfalls. Bend his nature in the right direction while it is still supple. Mould him in uprightness while he is still pliable. Turn him in the right direction during youth and watch his inclinations. If evil habits appear, weed them out before they take root and develop in strength. Chastise him with restraint, for overmuch punishment reveals defective upbringing. Let it be given only of necessity, for the most receptive ear of a son is that on his backside, which listens best when thrashed.
Beat the shit out of him.
Now, look, I'll just, a little interjection here. Adam was about 4 years old, or it might have even been less, 3 years old, when he was with me. We were at a supermarket. We were standing close to the checkout, and then he started with some kind of a rant, whinging, whining, I want this, I want that, whatever. So I took him into the bathroom. Come on, we've got to go to the bathroom, got to go to the toilet, got to do pee-pee. So I took his pants down and put him on the toilet seat, and then I went whack on his buttocks. And I said, now, we're going to go back out to the supermarket and you are going to behave yourself. You're not asking for anything, and we will leave here quietly. And we did. That was it. However, I know today you can't smack a child in public. You can be reported for all kinds of things. So
yeah, protective services.
Oh, I know. That's all. It's ridiculous. But that was my little.
I got smack bottoms and I learned.
Oh, totally. Well, I did too. My father took his belt off to my brother and I when he said, if either one of you does this, then you're both going to get it. And my brother turned around and hit me or something. And of course, I go, ah! Well, we both got it. I thought it was dreadfully unfair, but anyway. So guide but never drive. Always treat his mother with respect and affection. For if you find contentment and joy with your wife, he will find them with his. Leave him not with a heritage of sorrow. So shall he grow in comeliness and strength, a man of honour, noble and straightforward in his ways, a real man. He shall rise above lesser men, as a great oak rises above the brushwood. And though you may have failed in all else, this achievement will set the crown of success on your life. The virgin soil is yours to cultivate as you will. It is fertile and responsive. Let it not want for care, for if it be unhusbanded, it will remain barren and unproductive. The good pasture that is neglected produces weeds in abundance. And who is blamed, the pasture or the husbandman? The seed which you sow will produce a crop to be reaped in the fullness of time. The weeds you neglect to pull up will multiply and pollute the harvest. A harvest of gladness and pride can be yours. According to your sowing and attention, so shall you reap. Deposit with him your treasures of stored knowledge, your hopes and aspirations, and he will accumulate a profit greater than your dreams. He may transmute the ashes of failure and bitterness into the gold of success. Think well about your appearance in his eyes, for to him you are the inspiration or handicap. Teach your son manly ways, for he is destined first of all and above all to be a man. Leave him not to acquire his nature in the chambers of women. A son needs the firm guiding hand of a man, for that of a woman is too soft. Instruct him in the ways of discipline and self-control, that he may be master of his life. Show him the wrong of boastfulness and the error of vainglory. Instruct him in the need for manly forbearance. Show him the wrongfulness of ingratitude and womanly ways. If he become a follower of falsehood, a deceiver or hypocrite, then he is a memorial to your everlasting shame. Instruct him in the ways of moderation, in the ways of healthful living. Show him the folly of indiscretion, that he may avoid the pitfalls of life. Instruct him in the ways of diligence, that he may become a master of his craft. Show him the weakness of insincerity, that his heart may be strong. Instruct him in all the things wherein you have succeeded, and show him where you have failed. Instruct him in the bearing of arms and in the art of combat and defence. For what use is it to teach him wisdom, to instruct him in skill, and show him a good way of life, unless he has also the ability to defend and retain these things? Is it not futile and a pitfall for his feet to instruct him to defend the weak, to fight for justice and to oppose the oppressor, unless he be given the ability and strength to do so? Would you send him against a lion armed with a twig? Are you going to instruct your son to fight for a cause and send him out to do combat unarmed? Would you give him possessions, home and honour, and then deny him the skill to defend them? The law decrees that every desirable thing must be struggled for and then defended when attained. Nothing that is good comes easily or is easily held. Give your son confidence in himself and in his people. Give him pride in his nation and in his kinsfolk. Instill into him by example the love of learning. If he lacks intelligence, he has hands. Teach him a skill.
And if you don't listen, hunt him down and kill him.
He says with a knife.
Teach him to bear all things manfully, the good with reserve, misfortune with fortitude, and disaster with courage. Teach him to teach him to bear all things manfully, the good with reserve, misfortune with fortitude, and disaster with courage. Shall I stop here? We're way over time. Okay, all right, guys. We'll continue. This book is so... Anyway. Later, Gators.
You've been listening to the Go Lightly Marshall Hour on freedomtalkradio.net.